the sea. It's a place where creatures live underwater, and under the sea is a character that lives in a place called Bikini Bottom, and there is a house shaped like a pineapple. His name is SpongeBob SquarePants. That's right, SpongeBob SquarePants show has turned 25 years old this year, the longest running Nickelodeon show and one of the more iconic cartoon characters. This video I've been waiting for a while, but man, 25 years? That's crazy. I know SpongeBob had its 20th mark back in 2019, we're in 2024 and the show is 25 and still going. I have talked about SpongeBob quite a few times in my videos, mainly in some of my Nickelodeon shows, did a few SpongeBob clips in some of my videos, the SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom video game review I did last year, and even the recent Game Boy Advance video where they had volumes of them. As I'm doing this video, my Media Memories episode of SpongeBob is uploaded. I say watch that video first and then come back to this video. This is going to be an anniversary of SpongeBob, but I will say about the show for a retrospective and even the popularity. So with that out of the way, let's get started for the 25th anniversary of SpongeBob SquarePants. Let's start from the beginning. The creator Steven Hillenburg joined Nickelodeon as an artist on Rocko's Modern Life. After the show was cancelled, he began developing the show in 1996. A pilot was made a year later. The reason why he made this is because Hillenburg was fascinated with the ocean as a kid and began developing artistic abilities. He even taught marine biology at the Ocean Institute. Man, George Costanza must work for him with the marine biology. He created a comic book titled The Inner Tidal Zone, where it's about the animal life of tide pools with anthropomorphic sea life forms. During production of SpongeBob, the character and the series was originally going to be called SpongeBoy Ahoy, but the name SpongeBoy was already copyrighted, and thus Hillenburg picked SpongeBob SquarePants after Tom Kenny's response. There were changes, like the executives wanted SpongeBob to be a child in school, but he preferred the character to be an adult, making SpongeBob to go to boating school. Seems fitting. SpongeBob SquarePants premiered on Nickelodeon on May 1st, 1999, after the Kids' Choice Awards ended. And while it was the first episode to air, it didn't go fully premiere until July 17th of the same year, and thus SpongeBob made history. The show has a whopping 14 seasons as of now. Yeah, that's a pretty big gap between the airing of the episodes of the season during the years. Almost all SpongeBob episodes last 10 minutes, but some double-length ones last over 20 minutes. Now let's get to my review. I still stand by what I said in the previous video I put out, like the bumper being my introduction to SpongeBob, recording the episodes on VHS, and getting it on DVD. But yeah, I was getting into SpongeBob probably around 2002 to 2003, and man, I was loving this show. Prior to SpongeBob, my favorite Nicktoons was Rugrats, but that changed. Yeah, SpongeBob was like the one show I wanted to watch as a kid. In fact, I kept watching it until I was a teenager back in 2008. It wasn't until like 2012 where I was starting to lose interest in SpongeBob, which, yeah, at the time the worst seasons were starting to lose it, especially the fans. And while I stopped watching it since, I heard the seasons after season 9 got a little better, and while I haven't got caught up on the show now, I will watch the modern episodes in the future. Don't you guys worry. Let's get into the characters. There are so many characters in the show, with some of them being background characters or characters we see them in some episodes, but the main characters are SpongeBob, his friend Patrick, his pet snail Gary, his next door neighbor Squidward, his boss Mr. Krabs, his squirrel friend Sandy, and the archenemy Plankton. The characters do have their individual personality. SpongeBob is optimistic and naive, Patrick has low intelligence but he can be smarter and even aggressive, Mr. Krabs is self-content because he's obsessed with money, Sandy is a tough and adventurous squirrel that likes to do athletic moments like karate and rodeo. Plankton is pretty egotistical and wants to overcompensate of being evil, and Squidward is more arrogant and condescending. As a kid, I wanted SpongeBob as my favorite character, but no, my opinions changed a lot over the years. My favorite character is indeed Squidward. I've seen people in the SpongeBob fandom say Squidward is becoming a favorite because he's the most relatable for people in real life, and yeah, he is. It's not just the jokes, but it's around him. You can find any episodes that involve Squidward, even having little appearances here and there. Who doesn't love Squidward? I can go on and on with the mains, including characters during the show like SpongeBob's boating teacher, Mrs. Puff, Mr. Krabs' whale daughter, Pearl, Plankton's computer wife, Karen, or the most popular bikini bottom fish, Fred, that sometimes shouts, "My leg." Let's talk about the comedy. The jokes are pretty funny. I like that the show has jokes not only for kids, but for adults as well. There is a great book I read called TV The Book. Two experts picked the greatest American shows of all time. I read the SpongeBob part, and I find it interesting. For little kids, they will like the silly creatures and voices and wild slapstick. For older kids, they'll like the puns and non-sequiturs. But for the adults, they'll like the pop culture parody and even social commentary. There's like so many jokes in SpongeBob I really like. So, I didn't even realize when I was young, but I get it now. And speaking of humor, I love the payoff jokes in Chocolate with Nuts, and especially the breaking the fourth wall jokes. So yeah, the comedy is where the show is at. I can't say the comedy is perfect. The shows sometimes are not even funny. I find some jokes being annoying, cringy, gross, and even mean-spirited. But that's only in the downhill era. Speaking of that, I do want to talk about the seasons. People claim seasons 1 through 3 as the golden age of SpongeBob, in which I was perfect at that time when I watched it. Seasons 4 and 5 were like the turning point because Hillenburg left the show during that time, and while I do get it, those seasons are not as bad as some people say, though it can't beat the first 3 seasons. Seasons 6 and 7 were claimed as the dark era, and yeah, this is where I was about to lose interest, though I kept watching it. Seasons 8 and even half of season 9 were kinda but it's not the worst as the last era. And then the later half of season 9 and up until today, the show gave it a renaissance. I did watch a few episodes of the rival era, and some are actually not that bad. It does remind me of the golden years of SpongeBob. I will say the animation is interesting during the years. Season 1 was the only time they used cell animation, and then by season 2 they used digital animation. I will say the animation in the revival era is pretty wacky and over the top, the way the characters move. I mean, it's cool, but strange, I guess. The episodes of SpongeBob are going to be crazy in terms of some of the best. The best episode is a no-brainer. It's Band Geeks. Squidward and the rest of the people in Bikini Bottom joining in the marching band to revenge his enemy Squilliam. The ending of the episode is fantastic, with the sweet victory song playing with SpongeBob and the others singing in a football stadium with a crowd of people. This is the reason why everyone needs SpongeBob. You may think, kid show, they'll like it, but not for me. No, this show can be loved for adults. Now let's talk about the legacy. Besides the series that ran on, SpongeBob has 3 movies and the 4th one coming up, plus spin-off films of other characters. There's even 2 spin-off series, Camp Coral where they focus a young SpongeBob attending a summer camp, and The Patrick Star Show, where Patrick hosts his own talk show. Both of them premiered in 2021. SpongeBob won a variety of awards, and even the record-breaking 20 wins at the Kids' Choice Awards, mainly of the category Favorite Animated Show. There's even a Broadway musical that premiered in 2016. As far as ratings go, SpongeBob is usually high in terms of children's shows on TV. There's comic books, theme park rides, so many merchandise, even a balloon, and a wax statue at a museum in Ireland. Yeah, SpongeBob was pretty much all over the place, similar to Disney, Shrek, Minions, and many other pop culture stuff. But there's one thing I gotta mention, and this is the final section of this video, the memes. There are so many SpongeBob memes all over the internet. You can find images of SpongeBob and text that say anything. It is hard to know what images came from like the surprise SpongeBob and Patrick came from this first SpongeBob movie, or I'm gonna head out, is from the clip from the Smoking Peanut. And of course, mocking SpongeBob from the season 9 episode, Little Yellow Book. What's even more crazy is that besides the picture memes you can find, there's even merchandise of SpongeBob memes, t-shirts, figures, even Monopoly gets their own SpongeBob meme edition. Gosh, the amount of those is insane. You can see why SpongeBob is big because of those memes. But yeah, that's about it for SpongeBob SquarePants. This show is one of my childhood favorites. I can't say this show is higher than Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I still like it to this day. We are gonna miss the creator Stephen Hillenburg for making this show since he passed away in November 2018. No matter how long this show is gonna last, we still have one of the most iconic Nickelodeon characters. That is all for the video of SpongeBob SquarePants. Happy 25th anniversary. And by the way, I have 2 media anniversary videos coming up this month, so that will be exciting. I will see you all for the next video.